You know what? I'm loving so many people are here this morning.
Yeah.
Love that.
Because some conversations I have with people and they're like, oh, really? That really happened to you? And I'm like, what bubble are you living in?
It actually doesn't have a positive effect on the body.
They know that they don't know and still won't go out and find the information.
What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care, and being part of that team, reach out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. As always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And people always say, where's Ryan? Ryan is taking a little bit of a sabbatical this month. He's got some things going on that he has to take care of. So you're going to see me hosting most of the time, but we got some special surprises coming up. Actually, one starting on Monday, but I'm not going to say what it is on Monday. But speaking about that, on Monday, we're going to have Carol Nicole back. We're going to do part 2 of celiac disease and the rave of gluten-free. There was so much response to that conversation last month. We're going to do a part 2. And we're broadcasting live on June 6th, the first Friday in the month of June. So we're at half year now. What have you accomplished in your half year? Did you have things you wanted to achieve in the half year? Yes, no. And if you did have achievements that you wanted to reach at the half year, have you got close to them yet? Yes, no. Here in Toronto, I must say we've had better weather, though we've got smoke going on. So it seems to become being now a regular incident every summer. There are fires that are happening in different parts of Canada, mainly in the west, and the smoke drifts to different parts of North America, down the United States, also here. They say they got smoke warnings here in Toronto. I haven't noticed it too much. They say, though, got smoke warnings, so we'll see what's going on with breathing and all that. This is, for many young people, the last month of school. So another school year is ending. If you have young ones in school and this is the last month, are you looking forward to the end of a school year? Are you getting your kids into camp? What things do you have planned for them during the summertime? Various things going on. Last night, I don't watch a lot of live sports anymore, but I watch repeat. If you're a National Basketball Association fan, the Indiana Pacers did it again. They won on a last-second shot by, again, Tyrese Halliburton to defeat the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the Oklahoma City, I think, was hearing some things with about 10 minutes left. They were up by 14-something points, and they lost on the last shot of the game. And funny enough, the only time Indiana was ahead during the game was when they sank the last shot of the game. So I'm wondering, and I watched the replay and going, okay, Tyrese Halliburton is the star for Indiana. How do you even let him have the ball? Really? How do you have him have the ball? Don't know. That's really, really, really crazy. Number of different things going on. We have Wayne Harris coming up on Financial First Friday. He's got a number of different topics. I see people are starting to chime into the room. And if you are, wherever you're watching this, please shout out. Tell us where you're chiming in from. Would love to hear from you on Financial First Fridays. What's going on in your world? Is there anything exciting? Oh, you know what? And this is going to become a regular practice. What is a win that you've had recently? It doesn't have to be big. It can be a small thing. What's a win that you've had recently in your journey? For myself, I guess one of the wins I've had is I'm learning a new live streaming platform. And thanks to producer Matt in the green room, we're getting through it. And in the very near future, we're going to go. I've used it once. We've used it once on Hanging with Dr. Vibe, which is a new series of conversations. I actually had it this week with Laura Lala Key, and it went fine. We're going to slowly roll it out on different things, but we'll be using this platform and that platform periodically. But so learning a new thing is always exciting, and I really, really enjoyed it. So that's a win that I've had. So what is a win that you've had in the short term? You know, maybe I got out of bed this morning. That could be a win. You know, that could be a win. Just learning a lot of different things these days, and I really am just enjoying learning some new stuff. Simple as that. And weather-wise, like I said, we haven't had any rain. Oh no, we did have some rain the other day. Yeah, I like. Let's see when we can have a few days without rain. Like if we get 3 days without rain, that would be fantastic. I'm also excited. Another win, another new platform that we're broadcasting on live, a broadcast platform called Kick, which is a gamers platform. We're broadcasting on that platform now also. So another new platform. Well, actually now it says we're not broadcasting on it. So forget it. I thought it was going to go through, but it always seems to have a challenge. We are on a number of different platforms. So no one, it's a quiet morning so far, but we'll get there. We'll get there. You know what? Because it's so quiet and I never know how much time Wayne Harris has with us. What we're going to do is we're going to go for a break, and then we're going to bring Wayne Harris out. We're going to number conversation topics. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. Black Men Can Talk, a show where Black Canadian men come together to have real unfiltered conversations about life, culture, and community.
There is that weight that is put on Black men in order to show their worth.
But I think our children are now in a space, in a place where they are doing better. You know, as somebody who works with young people.
And in a lot of cases, a lot of the impact that they've seen happens after they're gone.
All right. You can catch Black Men Can Talk live Sunday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And it's hosted by myself, Kofi Morris, and Paul Osborne. And we host conversations, whether it's ourselves or have some friends come on from a Black Canadian men's lens. All right. So let's do some homework. Housework. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe. Oh, we're getting close to 1,830 subscribers. We're getting close, which means if you haven't subscribed and you're up to it, please subscribe. Tell other people about it. Like our conversations, share our conversations. Please do that. Also follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I'm going to probably update that. Also follow me on Substack because I'm working on that platform. Join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com or click on the link that's on their screen. Advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on. Email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And then Indie Soup TV, which is powered by our good friend, Dr. Tachi out at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I know they're getting near to 30,000 subscribers. So like 30,000 subscribers on YouTube in about 14 months. Doesn't happen that often. Only 4% of all channels have over 10,000 subscribers or more. So definitely check it out. Well, look who's in the house. Mon Fitness IQ Cam. Thank you. Hope all things are going well with you. I see you are with a fellow bookkeeper. I was looking on your Instagram in the last 24 hours. Looks like you're having some good treats with a fellow bookkeeper. So good to have you here this morning. Hope you and your family are fine and safe. All right. It is the first Friday of the month, and ongoing tradition, ongoing good thing. We have Mr. Wayne Harris in the house. What's going on, Mr. Harris?
Let's go, doctor. Let's go. How are you?
Outstanding. How are you?
Life is good, doctor. You know, I'm enjoying this weather that doesn't require me to wear my long johns. It's very good. To be honest, I only took off my winter tires like 5-6 weeks ago, to be honest.
Okay.
There's like second week of May before I got them up because I wasn't sure. It was still up and down.
Yeah, it's still making the turn. How's the house fam doing?
Everybody is doing well. Kidlets are big people now doing their thing, and wifey and I are doing our thing.
Good. I want to celebrate you shared with me before we went live an accomplishment of your daughter.
Yes, she's done some exams, and she is now a PhD student at her university and doing her research. And she was at a symposium last month. They flew her to Montreal, my hometown, and she presented this chart that I can read, but I don't understand what's on it. And she got it printed at Staples. It's huge, 56 by 34. And she went to Montreal and was in a symposium with other scientists and engineers and presented her research. So big things.
Nice. Before we get into some financial topics, what do you think I'm going to ask you about?
Elon and Trump.
Yeah, you know it. So
yes.
Want to get your lens on it before we go in on other things.
They were strange bedfellows. They're both billionaires, so that's cool. They both come from cultures that have certain opinions of other cultures. That's true. And Elon wanted ROI. When you make a $250 million investment in someone's campaign, you're hoping that buys you some influence in the areas of your concern. And one of those concerns for him is the whole EV subsidy space. And Trump wasn't having it. So Elon is not happy, and then dropped a mega bomb publicly about Epstein Island, which I find, he's just throwing grenades at the most powerful person in the free world. So he's feeling very comfortable in his, I'll use the word privilege, and we'll see now how his privilege works, all puns intended, how it trumps Trump. We'll see.
What do you think the next few weeks are going to look with that relationship? What do you feel?
Because they took it out into the streets, so to speak, the digital streets, it's going to take longer to resolve, because most people, rational people, would have that conversation in private and have a discussion about their positions and see if they can work it out. Using the X platform and going public with some things that it's going to be hard to come back from makes it, and Trump holds on to what indiscretions people have done to him for many, many years. So Elon recovering from this, the only thing that can insulate Elon is the fact that he's a billionaire, right? To a degree that, I'm not saying he's untouchable, but it's going to be very difficult to touch him. Right? So Trump can't really slow him down. So I think there's more important things in the world happening than what's going on between two bros not being bros anymore.
Yeah.
Well, they were broing out for 18 months, and now that's over. But it tells me something about both of their emotional intelligence and maturity as it relates to conflict resolution. Right? So people should not be too hard on themselves when the president of the United States and the richest man on the planet can't privately resolve an issue where they're on the wrong side or on the opposite sides of the same issue. I find that very, very concerning.
Who does this potentially hurt in the long run more? 47 or Musk?
47 has 3.5 years. His half-life is 4 years. So Elon will be the CEO of Tesla, Starlink, SpaceX, X. He'll be there in 3.5 years. Trump will not. So Elon can play the long game. Trump cannot. Trump has to do what he needs to do before midterm elections. And now Elon can point his turret towards all those Congress people that he would want in place, because he's already proven he's willing to spend big money. So he can put his big money behind people that are not going to allow Trump to executive order everything through, and that could cause Trump's second half of his term to be very, very difficult. So Elon has some weapons of mass destruction that he can leverage. Trump obviously has the ultimate pen right now for 2 years, and he can make Elon's life and Tesla's life very difficult. But I would have to think, why would he want to do that? Because it will send a signal to everybody else that if you cross me, even while I still have the House and the Senate, I'm going to do things that could cause you problems, so to speak. I don't know where that's going to go. Depends on the day.
Yeah. Well, yesterday was depended on the minute. Like he
Right.
was like tweeting. Musk was tweeting in live time as soon as 47-7. He was responding to it in real time.
Yeah. It's a whole different ballgame. Imagine JFK.
Oh gosh.
Or Abraham Lincoln, or George Washington, or even Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, doing this publicly. It's a level of entitlement and with no blowback. Everyone who is still MAGA is still MAGA.
Yeah.
Everyone who nothing's changed for them. They're like, yeah, Elon thinks he's an elected official. He's not. And the good news is Elon's not an elected official. The bad news is Elon is not an elected official, because he can do as he pleases within the law. So we'll see. Anyway.
Oh, so Matt Duffy says 2 toddlers having temper tantrums, basically.
Yes, publicly.
And the food plane says, good morning, Dr. Vibe, and Wayne DS here. Good to have you here. Oh man! Oh wow! Okay, food plane. Food plane's already in with questions. We're not gonna go there yet, but you already got questions coming to you, my man, which is good. And I don't know if you're gonna have a chance to chat anything about this. What about this BBB, the big beautiful bill? Any thoughts on that before we land into our major topics?
No, sir. I am not fully versed on the big bill, but I know that anything he's putting together is going to help the people who helped him get into office. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. All right. Let's get into there's a number of things we're going to bounce around with this morning, but the first thing we want to chat about is investing for kids and insurance for kids, since it is in many places in this area the last month of school for kids. Thought it was a good topic. So what do you want to chat up? What do you want to start off with?
Well, 100%. I think that investing and insurance are best done as soon as humanly possible. So what does that mean? It means that a baby is born, the baby cannot get insurance. The youngest age you can get insurance in Canada for a human being is 15 days old.
Wow.
Right? And you need a social insurance number to get the insurance. So while the mama is having the baby, as soon as that baby is born and it has its first document that will allow it to apply for a social insurance number, you should apply for that social insurance number, like post haste. Why? Because you want to get the insurance for the child before the child is determined to have autism, before the child shows signs of epilepsy. You want, before the child shows signs of sickle cell, you want to get the child insured and approved for as much as you can afford, because once you're diagnosed with certain pre-existing conditions, you might not be able to get the insurance, or the insurance will cost more. So you have a little window of opportunity between your first doctor's appointment where things can be discussed about the child, and you want to get that insurance in immediately, to be honest. Okay, so let's look at it. Let's stay with insurance for a second. there are a couple of things you can do for a child to have intergenerational wealth. The policy that you would want to put on the child, and again, I'm sensitive to the fact that some people believe putting insurance on a child is basically wishing for the child to expire. This is not the case. We're not wishing anything on the child. We're not doing anything to harm the child. We're putting the child into an insurance policy so that we can lock in their youth and lock in their health and therefore lock in a very, very cost effective price for the policy. This is why we're doing it. Because last I checked, there's only one person in the history of mankind who died and came back. Okay? Everyone else transitions. Everyone else. I say to people, death is like Floyd Mayweather, undefeated. Okay? So having a policy for a child when you know that they're going to expire, and it could be, honestly, my father lived to 90. The kids born today should live well beyond 100. Well beyond 100. So if you're going to live well beyond 100 and you're retiring at 65, you really need to think about how you're going to live all those years after retirement. What type of lifestyle you're going to have. So we do insurance, and there's really two types you can do. There's three, two permanent and one temporary. Let's not talk about the temporary policy. The temporary policies are cost effective, but they do not contain an investment component. So the two that are available to people for children 15 days old or older is the whole life policy. The second one is a universal life policy. What's the difference? A whole life policy is, for those of you over the age of 50, you remember a TV commercial from a guy, Ron Popeil, and he had something, his company was called Ronco. And he'd say, hey, just set it and forget it. Just set it and forget it. A whole life policy, you pay the premium, you set it and forget it. No one, you can't control the investment. You cannot control anything but paying the premium. And you can pay the premium for 8 years, and the policy will be fully paid up for the rest of your life. 10 years, same thing. 20 years, same thing. Or for life. Obviously, the longer you pay, the lower your premium. So we'll just leave it at that. So whole life, there are two types. There's non-participating, where you get a guaranteed dividend. And then there's participating, where you get a guaranteed dividend plus a dividend that is discretionary based on the company. And the dividend for most companies pays more than 6%. So I want you to think about this. It's basically a GIC. Some of us have a GIA, guaranteed investment account. It's a guaranteed investment account with a death benefit and a dividend. Right now it's paying about 6.45%. So imagine beating inflation by 3 times with no downside risk and a death benefit. That's a whole life policy. I'll stop there for a second. I can't hear you.
Just trying to do multiple. Okay, so Food Plane has some questions.
Okay.
And Food Plane, I love because you come in with a question. So first one he has, how important is life insurance for children, and are there better financial tools for building wealth long term?
There are tools that are available, but having insurance on everyone, first consider the breadwinners. The breadwinners need to have insurance. That's honestly should be mandatory. You have to have mandatory auto insurance. You have to have mandatory home insurance. You should, right? Some people will not rent to you unless you have tenant insurance. And then people have insurance on their iPhone, but don't have insurance on themselves. So life insurance on the breadwinners, you need to have it, because otherwise you're leaving a burden for someone else to raise your kids and take care of your family. Life insurance is the most cost-effective way to do that. And Children cannot have more than 50% of what the parents have. So if the parents have $1 million, the children can get up to 500,000. The parents have 100,000, the kids can get up to 50,000. The kids cannot have more insurance than the parents, because if they do, unfortunately, it's an incentive for the parents to hurt the children. Make sense? So whole life policy, set it and forget it, pay your premium, pay for 8 years, 10 years, 20 years, or for life. The policy has two components. It has a non-participating dividend, which is guaranteed, and it has a participating dividend that will vacillate but has never been below 6%. So this guarantees that you don't have to be a guru with finance. You just get a whole life policy, you put the premium in, and you let the policy cook. Done correctly, you can have hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars available to you while you're alive that you can collateralize to do what most people call infinite banking. The policy, you can borrow against the cash value, not against the death benefit, but against the cash value. And that cash value borrowing rate is up to 90% of the available cash value. Because whole life policies are so bulletproof, banks are willing to lend up to 90% of the cash in that policy, because like Floyd Mayweather never lost. Whole life policies don't lose. If you have a universal policy and try to do the exact same thing, they will change the portion you're investing from whatever it's in. Could be an exchange traded fund or something very aggressive. They'll change the portion that you're borrowing against to a fixed income portion. So you're not getting the kind of returns you're getting on the rest of the policy. You're only, the portion that you are borrowing against will be reduced to money market or basically a GIC for as long as you have the loan. So universal life policies used to be up to 80% borrowing against the cash. Now it's down to about 50% because the markets are kind of crazy. Okay. So
good
there you
stuff.
have it.
Next, Food Plane says starting early with compound interest is a game changer. A few dollars a month now could mean thousands later. He also said, go ahead.
100%. Listen, if you can start, and we're going to talk about that today. The earlier you start, the better it is. Someone invests $100 a month at age 50 to get to $1 million. They have to put in tens of thousands of dollars a month to get to $1 million. Someone starting at age 0, we're talking 15 days after they're born and they have that social insurance number, only needs to put $100 a month in, and they will be a millionaire by the time they're our age. Right. Just by $100 a month. You don't have to be a guru. There's $100 a month in an exchange traded fund that's yielding more than 10%, and most of them do. You're good to be a multimillionaire by the time you're in your 50s and 60s.
Stuff. Foodplane says, yes, looking forward to now in the future. Drea Rich says, good morning, Dr. Vibe. Good stuff. Foodplane again. He's got lots of questions for you, Wayne, man. This is good. Thank you, Foodplane. Says, what's your take on child whole life insurance as a tool for generational wealth? You may have answered this, but go for it.
100%. There are certain cultures that have been using this program for years. The best thing about a whole life policy is it's guaranteed to pay out. The second best thing about a whole life policy is that when it pays out tax-free, right? The third thing about a whole life policy is it bypasses your estate. So you don't have to worry about probate. You don't have to worry about creditors. You don't have to worry about the government. When there's a named beneficiary on a whole life policy, that person gets the money. All that they are allocated tax-free within 30 days of me receiving the death certificate. And I've done this 4 times. I've paid out 4 death claims. Now, the reason you want whole life is because it is more accepted by financial institutions, and it is pretty much guaranteed. One portion is guaranteed, the other portion is not guaranteed, but has never failed to pay in over 80 years. So that's as much of a guarantee as I can give you. I can't say it's guaranteed because that's illegal, but it has never failed to pay more than 6% for over 75 years. Okay. I feel those are pretty good odds. Now, nice. The reason you want to do that is because you can have your parents pay for the policy. Grandparents want to give your kids something, don't give them toys, don't give them candy.
Yeah.
Buy a whole life policy for that child. You having a baby shower? Yeah, you can get diapers. or you can get a whole life policy for this child, or the money to help you put that policy in place, because it pays like no one's business. Okay.
Nice. Nice. Okay, before we go to some more thing, Dr. Vi wants some interactivity, engagement. So got a poll. If you are watching this live on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube channel, doing a poll. Do you have life insurance? So 1, yes, 2, no, 3, not sure. You can be not sure, but just like to see if anyone want to engage in that poll. Oh, well, people are up. People are flying already. Look at that. Look at that. So we're even down the road right now. Okay. So we're going to get back to that in just a moment. We'll keep that going in real time. All right. So Fitness IQ Cam says very important. Also, Food Plane goes, wow. She's in the house. Dr. Tachi, happy Friday. Food Plane says there she is, the one and only Dr. Tachi. Food Plane also says makes sense, the answer you gave to the last question. And his last question, and he also has another question for you going, what are the red flags to look for when considering life insurance products marketed to parents for kids? Ooh.
Good question.
Yeah.
In Canada, well, worldwide, the most regulated industry on the planet is healthcare. The second most regulated industry in the world is finance. And Canada has 3 levels of protection to help parents make a better decision. Number 1 is you have your insurance boards. So these are the advocates for the insurance industry. You have one in every province. And you have your provincial board, which licenses people for insurance, and companies have to be in good order to be a part of the companies being offered. So that's called, in Ontario, that's the Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario. In Quebec, it's Autorité Marché Financier. BC has a BC Insurance Institute. Alberta has the Alberta Institute. Manitoba has a Manitoba Institute, and so on. Then the federal government provides a third layer that if any of these companies go bankrupt, the other companies have to pick up those policies. This is key. So if you buy insurance from a company and they go out of business, and we haven't had it happen in a long time in Canada, but when it does happen, one of the other companies or many of the other companies have to pick up those policies for that company. So you don't have to run the risk of, I bought this policy in 2025 and that company is no longer in business. What happens? We used to have State Farm in Canada. State Farm is no longer here.
Yeah.
You know what we have Desjardins. Desjardins picked up all those policies.
Okay.
Right. We used to have a company called Clarica. Clarica is no longer here. Clarica is now Sun Life. Right? We used to have Canada Life, Great West Life, and one more, London Life. Now all we have is Canada Life. Right? All 3 merged together, and all those policies are still in place. Your policies in Canada, when bought from a Canadian insurance company, key, because the Americans can advertise on Canadian TV. You want to know where the underwriting is being done. But a Canadian insurance company, 97% of the time, they will pay out the policy. The reason they will not pay out the policy is because you're a guy and you said you're a girl. You're 36 and you said you're 32. You're a smoker and you said you're a non-smoker. Fraud. When you do fraud, the insurance companies, some of them will say, listen, we're not giving you a dime. Others will say, since you paid all these years, we're going to adjust what we're going to give you based on what you truly are, not what you said you were. So if you said you were a girl and you're a guy and you've been paying for 15, 20 years, and they find out that you're a guy, not a girl, they will go back to the age you were, change it to what a guy would have paid, and then pay you out on that, which would be less than you would get for a woman, because women, on average, for life insurance, pay less for life insurance than men because they live longer than men. Okay? And we won't get into critical illness and disability, but just to say that women have a propensity to have more critical illness issues in their 30s, 40s, and 50s than men do. So they're more expensive for critical illness. Men just have,
Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
I'm a broker, so I don't work with any one insurance company. I work with 7. And depending on who you are, age, gender, industry that you're in, what your health conditions were for your parents, right? Which is key. Getting
Oh,
insurance,
huge,
getting
huge.
insurance for your kids before you have a problem is going to help them get a better rate than if you
Mhm.
have cancer and you have heart attacks. Now they say, hey, one of the questions is, have your mother, father, or siblings had this issue before age 65, and then give you the laundry list. And if you had any of those things before 65, they now know that train may come to the station of your children.
Got it.
And now their insurance eligibility changes for some companies, depending on how old they are. Some people will say, I'll take the risk because maybe you got colon cancer because it's lifestyle. You love oxtail, so you eat oxtail and you get colon cancer, right? You love high fructose corn syrup and you have a stroke because you're drinking Cokes every day or rum and Cokes every day. So liver, right? So you want to insure yourself first. They say when you're on an airplane and the cabin loses pressure, the mask will drop from the ceiling. You need to put your mask on first. So when I do my analysis, I look to see if the parents have their house in order. Do they have the insurance? And if they do, now we can look at insurance for the children. One of the things you can do to reduce the cost is when you get your policy, you can do something called a child rider. And a child rider means we add the children's insurance to your policy. Costs very, very little, but now the child has insurance, anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000. When the child turns 18, you can now turn that $30,000 policy into an insurance policy for them without any underwriting. So even if the child is terminally ill, they will transfer that to a policy for the child, and that will cover burial and other expenses. But ideally, you would want the child to have their own policy because they're going to need it. They're going to need it when they're older, when they buy their first house, when they have their first child, when they get married. They're going to need the insurance when they die, and they're going to die. Hopefully not when they're children, but when they're much older. And if you can get them a win by not having insurance as an expense for them, then they have one less thing to worry about when they're in their 20s and 30s. Okay.
All right. Good questions coming from the family today. Keep it coming, family. Dr. Tachi says, hey, food plane, hey there. Fitness IQ Cam, who I think you know, says,
I do.
What about non-binary?
Yeah. Whatever you were when you were born is how you're going to get underwritten. So if you transition, you do a bunch of different things, whatever floats your boat, what your birth certificate says you were, that's how we insure today.
Okay. Food plane again coming on the call says some policies lock in insurability, which can be valuable if a child develops health issues later. Do you think that's worth the trade-off in liquidity?
Good question. Good question. What we can do for children is something called guaranteed insurability rider. And what that means is, let's say, because all you can afford today for the child is $100,000. Well, that $100,000 is going to become hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of time. But you can add these riders saying, I want my child to be able at age 20 to buy another $100,000 of insurance. At age 25, buy another 100,000. At age 30, another 100,000. You can do that for as many times as you want. Every time you add it, it's an extra $1 or $2 or $3 a month. But now your child is 27, 28 years old, and they contract lupus, right? With women, a lot. I see a lot of lupus out there for Black women. That child can buy those tranches of life insurance as if they are triathletes, as if they're in perfect health. They get the elite price, even though they're suffering from whatever they're suffering from. This is a good thing to do. So what I think about is, if the average house in Toronto is $1.1 million today, and these children live in Toronto, and you're getting them $100,000 of insurance, might behoove you to get guaranteed insurability for a couple of tranches of $100,000, maybe 4 or 5 over time. Now, these are optional. You do not have to do it. You don't have to do it, but why wouldn't you? Because you're guaranteed to get the best possible price for that insurance. But what it does is it locks you into the insurance company you're currently with. So if you don't want any blood work, any urine work, None of that stuff. The guaranteed insurability will guarantee you won't have to do any of that in the future. And the future comes very quickly.
All right. Fitness IQ Cam says fair to your answer about the non-binary. Okay, now Food Plane again says, and I don't know how much experience you have with this, but would you recommend child life insurance over just investing in a custodial Roth IRA if the child has earned income?
I would recommend, this is a US question. Roth IRA is basically a tax-free savings account in Canada. I would do both. This is a dual strategy. The Roth is going to be tax-free, and because it's tax-free, there is no tax. So that money is the child's money. You run it for the child, all right, because the child can't sign any documents or under 18. So you open it for the child and you feed it with the birthday money and the Christmas money and the bar mitzvah money, whatever you're going to do. You feed it with that. And when the child's 18, the child can take over the account because they're now an adult. The reason you would want to do the insurance as well is because the Roth IRA, if you put $100 a month in and 6 months later, God forbid, there's a car accident and the child dies, there's $600 in the Roth IRA plus interest. But if you have life insurance on the child for $250,000 and it's 6 months later, God forbid, you get $250,000 tax free. So I do both for my children in Canada. I'm not licensed in the States. I will be before the end of this year. So Food Plane, holler at me. Let me know what state you're in, and I'll get my license in that state, and then we can do some work
Good
together
stuff.
potentially.
Speaking of that, as I put it up here, Wayne's contact information, his website, Wayne Harris Consulting, email wayneharris905@gmail.com, Instagram @Wayne Harris Consulting. Let's get back to investing for kids, insurance for kids. All right, I have a question.
Sure.
Are there situations where insurance for kids is a bad idea or unnecessary?
The only way insurance is bad for kids is if you can't afford it. And you're going to open up a policy, and 6 months, 8 months later, that you want to buy a bag of Doritos, and you're going to stop the policy because you want to buy a bag of Doritos. So, a lot of people are living Grandmaster Flash. You know what that means?
Yeah.
Don't push me because I'm close to
the edge. Yeah.
Right. So when I see people living Grandmaster Flash, I will pause on the type of insurance or pause on insurance altogether, because the good news is, let's say you are tight, but you want this for your child and you want to get it done. You can get a term or temporary policy for term 10, which is the lowest amount of years you can have a policy for. So you can get a term 10 for your child of $250,000, right? It's going to cost you about $10 a month. That's 2 Starbucks, right? If you can't handle that, I've got nothing for you. But if you for $10 a month, you tell me, Wayne, I got $10 a month, I'll get you a policy for your child. Whatever amount of insurance I can get you from one of the companies I work with, I will say for the conversion, the ability to convert to whole life or universal life. Some companies sell both. Some companies only sell one. So I will put you with a company that can convert that term temporary policy to a whole life or a universal life policy down the road when your financial situation, by working with me and my team, we get you out of Dodge. You're now making real money. Now we'll convert that temporary policy or some of it to whole life, and the price will go up, but you locked in your health and the lack of pre-existing conditions. So you're going to be older, but the cost of insurance for a child 0 years old and 5, 6 years old, very low difference between the two. So you convert, you buy term, lock them in, get the health in, no sickle cell, no epilepsy, no ADHD diagnosis, none of that stuff. Lock them in, $10, $15 a month. And then when your financial situation stabilizes, we convert that term policy to a whole life policy, and then you get into the infinite banking, and you don't have to worry about it. There's no guaranteed convertibility, guaranteed renewability. The 10-year policy, should you be suffering financially for 10 years, I don't know how that's possible working with me, because there's too many levers for me to pull for you to still be broke. But if you still want to spend the way you're spending, still want to live the way you're living, and you can't sustain it or support it, and you will not change your mindset as your relationship with money, then, there's not much I can do for you,
Got it.
right? You continue living Grandmaster Flash.
So FitNets IQ Cam, in response to the Roth and the Earn Kim, says do both. And Food Plane appreciates your answer, saying makes sense. I have a conversation piece for you. What should parents look for when choosing an insurance policy for their kids?
They have to look for, great question. They have to look for what they're buying it for. What's your reason for buying the policy? What's your reason why? We have something called a reason why letter. So when people buy policies, every advisor should be asking them, why are you buying the policy? Because when hair did, nails did, everything did, the soca party, I got to buy the outfit for Caravana, all those things come up to compete against the policy. You need to know why you bought the policy. I'm trying to create generational wealth. I want to ensure that my kids can get insurance when they're older. You need to let me know, and I will remind you of those things before that policy gets canceled. I don't have too many policies canceled. My persistency, or people who buy policies and keep them more than 2 years, is over 90%. But every now and then, there's that soca party, or that I could keep calling it Molson Amphitheater. I guess it's Budweiser stage or whatever it is now. But there's, LL Cool J is coming to town. There's a $500 ticket. Chris Rock's coming to town. People want to dismiss their policy for an experience, or the girls' trip to Miami, and the guys do it too. I'm not just picking on the girls, right? The guys are want to do Passport Brothers and all this kind of, I want to go to Colombia and this and that. And all of a sudden, my policy is on the ropes. Now I see it before they see it, so I look at their cash flow and I say, if you can't sustain this policy, if one transmission of your car goes, if one roof has a leak, if one AC breaks down, if one kid gets hurt and you don't have benefits and you need to pay out of pocket for the dentist or the doctor, whatever it is, and I know that you're going to be very, very tight, I will offer you something that is well within your budget. Like, I'm talking less than 20% of your free cash flow. If your cash flow is negative, I look at why. And if the why is Starbucks, Oxtail Thursdays, Roti Fridays, Pizza Saturdays, I'm going to the movies, I'm out in the club, I'm popping bottles. If that's where your money is going, I'm going to ask you to allocate some of that spend to this policy. And if you can do that, make that lifestyle change.
Well, it's more a mindset change than a lifestyle change. Let's talk about mindset here.
Agreed. And again, consumption is kind of what we do as a culture. We love to spend money, and if
what are the first three letters of the word consumption?
Con.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of people out there who don't know, but are afraid to be vulnerable to show what little they know. I mean, here's a question for a poll for you, for everybody on there.
Okay.
Ask this question.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Go ahead.
Ask them this: between kindergarten and grade 12, how many courses on financial? How many courses did you take on financial literacy between kindergarten and grade 12? Let me know.
You know that, but it I'm going to be, and I hear the word too much here, vulnerable. I'm going to be open here. There are some things that I've approached when it comes to financial. I was afraid.
Yeah. Ego.
Yeah. I'm going to be totally honest here. I was afraid. And when I jumped off a cliff, so to speak, I said, you know what? That wasn't that bad. And I said to myself, you know what, my ego and my pride was holding me back.
Healthy shame.
Yeah. And that the pain of not doing was greater than the pain of doing.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
100%. I see it I see it a lot of the time in all communities. There are some communities that aren't used to seeing someone who looks like me talking about money in a non-consumption manner, right? That's one. So I come on the screen, your name is Ed Gow, my name is Wayne Harris. You don't know what we look like. If you haven't gone on my LinkedIn or my Facebook, I come on the screen, boop, oh, he's a brother. Now, when I open my mouth, I have to prove that I don't want to call it bigotry, because it's not bigotry, it's more prejudice of,
Yeah.
of thinking I am a certain way. I'm 6 foot, almost 6'3" in heels. I'm a ball player. What do I know about money? So I have to let them know through education first. Show them not so much what I know, but show them what I know that's relevant to them, right? And show them some things that they could do better. I don't call anyone's baby ugly, literally or figuratively. I let them know this is what's available. This was what has been available to you your entire life. This is what's relevant to you of what's available to you. This is what we can do together to get you to optimize those things from this point going forward, because there isn't anything I can do about the past. And those who want to take that journey with me do, and they get great results. And again, I'm not promising anyone a certain percentage of return, but what I'm promising them is that what I'm doing is in their best interest, not mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that if we can get over ourselves, because everything we do is in confidence, right? You go talk to a priest, if you're Catholic, it's in confession, it's private. If you go to a doctor and you talk to them about what's going on with you, and you have whatever disease and it's incurable, it's between you and your doctor. No one is going to know in your house unless you tell them. Same thing with myself. You come to me, even if I've known you from time, and you and I go to the same barbecues, no one at that barbecue is going to know you're my client unless you tell them you're my client. I'm not going to go into the barbecue and say, he's my client, she's my client, she's my client. All right? Everybody here's my client. It's a great barbecue. But when I have a barbecue for my clients and you're there, it's a client barbecue, you will know everybody in that backyard is a client.
Yeah.
But other than that, you're not going to hear that from me.
All right. So someone Heather Harris says, "Good day, gentlemen." And then she says, "Leave the girls' trip alone."
Yes. She's out there in them streets with her girls.
Okay. Heather says, "Thank you. All good in you. We are fine here because you're one of the people that's here hanging out with us." She said she got zero education about financial stuff going to school. And she says, no sex education and no financial education. Two things that can devastate your life. Yes. Wow. That is heavy. And she says, outside. All right. Good stuff. Another conversation we used to have with you in regards to this insurance thing is, can insurance policies for children be transferred to them when they become adults?
100%. And you can transfer ownership of the policy once they're 18. I wouldn't do it at 18. I would continue to not transfer the policy until the policy premiums are paid up. So if you have a newborn child and you have a 10-year pay on the policy, the child's only 10 years old. You can't take over the policy. If you have a 20-year pay, the child can take over the policy at 20, but 20, they're still doing young people things. It's still hot girl summer, still hot boy summer at 20. So what I would do is I would transfer the policy once I see that for life. The technical term is not a knucklehead, right? If your child is not a knucklehead, right? You see them making the right decisions without you having to be there for them to make it, then you might want to consider transferring the ownership. You can not only transfer the ownership of the policy, you can transfer the beneficiary. So I envision myself, someday in the future, in the near future, I hope, my son getting married. I'm fixing his bow tie or whatever he's wearing, and we're wherever we are. Seems to be destination weddings seems to be the way to go these days. Mm-hmm. And wherever we are, and I'm there doing that father-son moment where I'm fixing his bow tie. He looks amazing, And I said to him, I said, listen, I've got a gift for you. Oh, you didn't have to do that. Just you being here. Blah, blah, blah. You know, I said, no, listen. I'm going to hand him a document. Actually, it won't be a document. It'll be a file. I said, check your phone. And on that phone, I'm going to remove myself and my wife as owners of the policy and put his name in. I'm going to remove my wife and I as beneficiaries of the policy since we paid for it, and put his new bride's name on there as beneficiary because they're married, or going to be in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take $10,000 or $15,000 in a loan. So my wife and I, because there's tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars in the policy. Policy's fat because we did it when they were young. We're going to take $10,000 or $15,000 and we're going to go on a trip wherever my wife wants to go. And that trip will cost us nothing because the money that comes out of the policy, when done correctly, is tax free.
Tax free.
Now he's going to say, "Hey, you took 15 grand." I said, "Yes, I did, because I paid 20 grand for the policy. I just took my money back. But the other $300,000 that's in there, that's yours.
It's yours, exactly.
And your new bride, right?" And he's going to say thank you as any good son would, and I'll do the same thing for my daughter when her day comes.
You know, it's a very interesting question for you. What percentage of clients or potential client? Okay, you know, let me make it different. I'll ask the same question, but for two different sectors. What percentage of potential clients you speak with have something to pass on to their next generation?
Good question. It depends on the demographics. So when I deal with people over the age of 60, they have houses to pass on. Okay. Those who were lucky enough or smart enough to buy something in Toronto when Toronto was doing its thing. The people between the ages of 30 and 50, they are struggling. Their interest rates on their mortgages are too high. Their kids are in school. The kids are in activity. There's one activity that's out there that seems to be predominant. It doesn't matter if it's the culture of the people, but this thing called competitive dance.
What?
Bro, yes. Competitive dance is a $20,000 a year activity for your child.
Oh, okay. You know what? I can relate on this. My brother's daughter was involved. I think we may have talked about this offline, in cheerleading.
Yeah,
OMG. Whoever owns that business, they're it's a
cash machine. $300 per outfit, 18 outfits required per year, plus travel. Bro, and you can't get a scholarship in it. It is insane. Listen, I want to be on the record for everyone who's listening to this today or in the future. You heard it here. If your child wants to dance, get them to a studio where they learn something for a semester and they have the big recital at the end. And they learn something for another semester and they have the big recital at the end. Costs you a couple $100. But you see anyone asking you to join competitive cheer, competitive dance, or these acro things, avoid. It's a cash black hole. Because if there are 12 girls on that team, or 15 girls, mostly girls doing it.
Let's do some math, baby. Let's do some math.
Listen, when you have 12 to 15 girls and they're all doing their thing, your daughter can't quit because she's part of a formation and they require her to be on that part of the stage at that time. And all the other girls are dependent on her. So now the pressure, once you get in, to stay in until all these girls turn 18, it's a weapon of mass financial destruction for you as a family. But the schools love it, and the industry loves it. And I've seen, so-and-so team who is number one, so-and-so the judges and this and that. Listen, stop it. Stop.
No,
do not. I highly do not recommend competitive dance or competitive cheer.
Yeah, I don't know if we chatted about this offline, but I know a few years ago I went to one of my niece's competitions, and it was in Brampton. So I go there. I go in. I'm going, what? I'm thinking, who is behind this, because they are cha-chinging the amount of money I heard they spent on her, and she did it for about at least 6-7 years.
Oh yeah. Listen,
I'm just
I've had
going,
people refinance their house, Dr. Vibe, to keep their daughter in competitive dance.
why don't you take your money and put some life insurance or invest instead of, but that's a choice. That's a choice.
Listen, you have to give your kids experiences. Right?
Sure.
I was in Montreal last week, and there was a gentleman whose family owned a camp. He has 35,000 campers from 1946 till a couple of years ago.
How many?
35,000 over many years. And he started using the camp for executive retreats and different
Nice.
things, and
Yep.
mixing it up. But camping has become less and less popular in certain cultures because of the shenanigans that go on negative with the counselors and the children. And this is a one-way door, that if the people there are going to do bad things, it could be a scar on your child for life, and you put them in harm's way. So people are very, very cautious.
Yes.
But one of the things that camps do, and I went to camp a few times, is when I get on the bus to go to whatever place in the woods, I have my buddies on the bus with me, but I'm homesick like you wouldn't believe, because I've never been away. First time I went, I was 9 years old. By day 2 of camp, I didn't remember what my parents looked like. I was having so much fun, me and my boys out there in camp, cleaning our room, sweeping the floor, doing all, getting your tuck money for the little, for the candies and whatnot, learning how to swim, all those different things. By the time the 7 days was done, and we only did it for 7 days, I was a different person. When children go away for university, sometimes it's the first time they're leaving home.
Yep.
And they get out to university, and that feeling that I got at camp, they get. But they still have the pressure of 5 courses or 6 courses coming through, and some of them don't survive.
Yep.
So what we find is kids who have gone to camp have more resilience, so they can go to university further away or in another country, because they have that independence. It's key. So if your child wants to go to York, U of T, or TMU, Humber, Guelph, Seneca, Centennial, Sheridan,
Local.
yeah, you don't have to worry about that. But if you want them to go to Windsor, you want to go to Queens, you want to go to McGill, you want to go to UBC, they need something between their developmental years that will allow them to feel resilient when that feeling of homesickness comes on them, and it will come. Otherwise, it's very hard to manage.
I know of a couple who their daughter was challenged in high school in certain subjects and has now got accepted into Brock. She's never been away from home.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned. And she's used to getting the attention and her way.
Yeah.
So I'm very concerned.
Yeah, I would suggest that they send her to camp this summer.
Yeah.
Give her 2-3 weeks, a month, July, to be somewhere where they're not on top of her. She has to do laundry. She has to fold her clothes. She has to make her bed. Yeah. She has responsibilities, and they're not there. Someone else is there watching her do it and guiding her and coaching her up. When Brock comes in September or August, she will be much more resilient to that feeling. Yeah. And I didn't know this until when the kids were about to go to university, my son, they said, has he been to camp? I go, no, he's never been to camp. Has he ever been away from you and your mother, you and your wife? I go, no, he hasn't. I went, because I was afraid of the pedophilia and all the different things that camp. I don't want to go out there and have to, drape somebody up. So I said, we didn't do it. So they both went to school an hour to an hour and a half away from home. He went to Laurier, which is just in Waterloo, and she went to Hamilton, which is far enough away that they're independent, but close enough that if I got to go drape somebody up, I can still get there.
Yep.
Right? So, it's something that other cultures have embraced. There's certain cultures that they go to camp and they send their kids away for the whole summer. Yeah. They're gone up in the northern parts of Ontario. They're canoeing, they're kayaking. they're portaging, they're doing it all. They come home, those kids are resilient. So now you put them in a dorm, and they're like, been there, done that,
Got it.
right? They're like, see you at Thanksgiving. They're
Yeah.
gone, right? I wish there were a black camp with black counselors who would teach these kids about themselves and raise their identity.
Very good point. Very
And because we have 70% of the kids in university are female in our community. 70%, right? And of the kids that are going, they're not in the STEM realm. Like my daughter could count on one hand the other kids who look like her in engineering,
yeah.
right? So there's something amiss going on where the parents aren't exposing their kids, maybe out of finances, maybe out of knowledge themselves, to certain things, and maybe camps are expensive. So it's a socioeconomic block on the camp, because you want to send them to camp, you would, but it's $1,000 per child per month, and you have 3 kids, and they don't give it. Maybe they give a discount for multiple kids, maybe they don't. But if you're going to drop 3 G's, sometimes it's per week or per month, depending on the camp, that's a burden that most people can't handle. So when their kids go and they flame out because they're 4 or 5 hours away from home and they're having anxiety, understand that them never being out of your reach, leash has been very short, is very tough on them. And my sister can attest to that because she's at a university, she can see.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned there's another couple I know. Their daughter is going to be going to university for the first time in the next few months, but she's been a summer camp counselor for the last 2 summers. Full summer.
Does she live in Toronto?
She lives, they live in Markham, but she's been a camp counselor and gone for the whole summer, last 2 summers, gone.
Yeah. It's 100% one of the little hacks for student success that I had no idea about until my kids entered first year of university.
Okay.
So parents, govern yourselves accordingly. You got young kids, if you can do your due diligence. Don't say, Wayne told me to put my kid in here and something happened. Do your due diligence on the camp. Look at all the records, the police checks, the criminal checks on all the people there. Make sure you're comfortable. The YMCA does a pretty good job of vetting, and they have camps as well. The brand is very, very venerable. But again, anybody can be rogue at any time. So
true. So Drea Rich a while back said that comment from Heather Harris about don't touch the girls trip says too much. No, it's the other one about too much silence about money and sex with devastating outcomes. Love that comment by Heather Harris. Fitness IQ says, listen, wedded destination are expensive.
100%.
Yeah. And Fitness IQ says, indeed, Drea, about Heather Harris comment says, JG Mars, competitive dance. Yes, competitive dance and the cheer thing. It's like I said, it's a whole industry in itself. And
I don't think it's an industry. I think it's a racket. it is devastating financially. I understand camaraderie. I understand the girls become better dancers and collaborators and all that stuff. So there's some positive things that come from it. But holy smokes, bro!
Like I said, the first time I went to one, because many times when I go to events, like how much money is this making and who's making the money? I'm just seeing, and I go, how much is this? I'm going, someone just cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And I know that they did trips to Montreal, to Niagara Falls. You got to stay in hotels. I'm just going, wow. Let's get back to one more thing in regards to the insurance. How does critical illness insurance for children work, and what does it typically cover?
Good question. Critical illness covers a couple of things. The best policies cover 25 illnesses. So loss of sight, loss of hearing, loss of limb, loss of organ, all things life-threatening heart-related, and all things life-threatening cancer-related. For juvenile policies, they add a number of other things like juvenile diabetes and a few other things, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, and a bunch of other things that they add for the children. So you're probably getting about 30 to 31 illnesses covered for the child, and those will drop off when the child turns 18. You still have the regular 25 that the adults will have. The reason you want critical illness is if you know, like my grandfather had prostate cancer, he died of it. My father had prostate cancer, he died of it. I had prostate cancer, I'm still here. I have a son. Well, I know that train may come to his station. So he has 6 figures of critical illness approved, and it includes prostate cancer. So should it come to his door, darken his doorstep, he's going to get a check for $100,000 tax free. So critical illness for children, especially if you know your family's got the sugar, and they have the sugar not because they have the sugar because they chose the sugar, right? Diabetes type 2, diabetes type 2 is a choice. That type 1, you're born with it. I got that. But type 2 is a choice. And our community is like Floyd Mayweather as it relates to diabetes, undefeated. We have some of the most the highest numbers of diabetes of any culture. South Asian community has a lot of diabetes as well, and it's because of our diet. We eat a lot of food cooked in bad oils, a lot of seed oil, a lot of corn oil, a lot of multi-purpose oil, and those oils are terrible for your body. So diabetes, again, type 2 preventable, type 1 you're born with it, it is what it is. But type 2, this is insulin resistance because you are eating too much and eating too much of the wrong food. And Carolyn Nickel is the expert on that.
She'll be here on Monday. She'll be rocking on Monday.
Yeah, I'll defer to her on that. But I think that lifestyle choices, diet matter. You know what also matters? Sleep.
You know what? And it's so interesting you mentioned that. And I was speaking with producer Matt before, and he was telling me, he liked to stay up late and all this sort of stuff. Sleep, people don't realize 2 basic things how important: sleep and water.
Yeah. Trust me when I tell you, you have something ailing you, something chronic, you're coming down with something. You get your butt in bed and get rid of the blue light. So your phone, your iPad, your computer, get off of it at least an hour before you go to bed. And Carolyn says you need to be in bed by honestly 11 o'clock because all the healing and recovering functions happen from midnight going forward. So you think about us in our 20s up in the club where the night doesn't get started till like midnight, and then you go into after parties and you're eating at Denny's on Carlton, at 4 or 5 in the morning, right? We're doing these things. We're writing checks with our 20-year-old body that are going to get cash in our 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
So you can recover, you can change anything. Again, it's a mindset thing. So yes, critical illness for children. Yes, life insurance for children. But I'm going to go run through, in the interest of time, I'm going to run through the 5 things that I came to talk about. Thank you to the family for taking over as per usual. The first thing we're going to look at for a child in Canada is the RESP, Registered Education Savings Plan. We want to have one of those in place for them to go to school. And the reason we want to have them go to school is because your income is going to increase by over $1 million over your lifetime by having a university degree. I don't care what degree it is, but if you have a university degree, you're going to make over $1 million or more over your lifetime. Now, some of these degrees are not firing on all cylinders as others would, but you can see where the puck is going in terms of technology and govern yourself accordingly. The RESP allows you to take after-tax money, put it into a registered education plan. Anything that's registered is going to be tax-free while it's in the registered investments. You're not paying taxes on it every year. It's after-tax money. The government of Canada gives you a child education savings grant of $7,200 for the lifetime of the registered education savings plan. Therefore, you can put a maximum of $2,500 a year into the RESP. So if you max out that RESP, the government's going to give you 20% as a guaranteed return on that money through the grant up to $7,200. But you can put $2,500 in until that child's 17 years old. That's a lot of money. It's 50 grand. But because that money has been compounding from the day that child got a social insurance number, 15 days later, depending on what you invested in. It doesn't have to be a 1 or 2% GIC. It could be the NASDAQ. It could be the S&P 500. It could be very, very aggressive to double and triple your money. So the child's going to school with 150 grand. Now they don't have to go to U of T or Ryerson, TMU. They can now go to UBC because they love Vancouver. They can go to a school in the States.
Well, who knows what's going on there?
Right.
Yeah.
They can go to England. They can go to England. They can go to Australia.
Sure.
Right. They can go to Scotland because you'll have real money in that account. So the registered education savings plan is something that I recommend. For those of you who are getting the child tax credit, you can use some or all of the child tax credit to pay for the RESP. So you're getting a government grant, $7,200 lifetime per child, and you can get a family plan. That means you have 2, 3, 4 kids. You get one plan. Each kid gets their $2,500 allocation. If 3 kids of the 4 become entrepreneurs and do not want to go to university or post-secondary, the one child can go get their bachelor's, master's, and PhD with all the money. If they don't use the money, they have up to age 35 to use the money. If they don't use the money by 35, it will become a part of your RRSP as a parent. Okay? So the money is taxed in the child's hands when they get it at 17 to go to school, but because the child is only working a $3,000 a year job, is basically tax-free. Okay? RESP in the United States, you have the 529. Okay? Number 2, tax-free savings account. Hey, can't get one until the child's 18 years old. Right? That's a long time to wait. There's a whole heap of compounding going on between 0 and 18 that you're missing out on if you're waiting for the child to have a tax-free savings account. The way to do what a tax-free savings account would do, but get more than the 0.5% you're getting at the bank with a child savings account for their birthdays and Christmas money, it's called an in trust for account, ITF. This is in trust for account is you running the money in your child's name, and you can run it in anything. Okay, so you can get that. You can use the money for whatever they want. They need a car, they need books for school, they need to buy a home. You can use the in trust for account. As soon as they get that SIN number, within the first 30 days of the child being born, you open an in trust for account and get the money out of the bank. Because if you set up that savings account and you die, you're part of the community, there's an 80% chance you don't have a will. And when you die and that money for the child is there in your name because they're a minor, all that goes into the estate, and the estate is taxed. So I think the technical term is bond that and put that money in the in trust for account on the insurance side, and that money will go to a named beneficiary tax-free. Okay. For those, we have a young lady on here, Minnie on Cam, and Minnie on Cam is a bona fide subject matter expert on all things disability, at least in Ontario. And we have something called a registered disability savings plan. This is fantastic. Again, a registered account. The money grows tax-free. For every dollar you put in, $3 is put in by the government of Canada, up to $70,000. Your child has to have a disability that qualifies, but imagine getting 3x on your money, because this child is probably going to be dependent on you or their siblings for the rest of their life. You put in 1, the government gives you 3 for free. Plus, we're investing it in the market. It's growth on top of growth on top of growth. And I see a lot of people who don't have it. Okay. And the last one is the first-time homeowner savings plan. When the child turns 18, get one of these. Get one, get one, get one. Why? Because they may need to buy a house down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got 15 years to use it. You can contribute to it for 5 years. The maximum you can contribute to it is $8,000 a year. When they turn 18, let's say they don't have $8,000 to put in from their birthday money and everything else. You can open it with $100 a month and let it run. When they finish university, actually what you can do is, let's say 2025, you open one up and you don't have $8,000 to max it out. You put $100 in. Next year, you get your big time job, and now you've got 2026, 8,000. 2025, you can go back to 2025 and put the other 7,900 in.
Backdated.
For your 5 years. You can backdate it for 1 year. So that's 5 years in the first-time homeowner savings account for a maximum of $40,000. Plus, you have your RRSP doing the same thing. You can put in 18% of your gross income. If your income is very low, you can't put a whole lot into RSPs. And most people that young aren't putting money into RSPs. But RSPs have a first-time buyers program as well. You can take $60,000 in RSP and put it towards a house, and there's no 5-year time limit on that. And you can also use the RSP to borrow the money tax-free to go to school, to go get your master's or your PhD or your MBA. So lots of ways to save for your child before the age of 18 and after the age of 18. But tell me, listen, if you forget anything tonight, remember this: the longer the money compounds, the more money they will have. So if you can start at 0 years old, start at 0 years old. If you can't start at 0 years old, start when you can. And for those things that are available at 18, get your child to stop buying Air Jordans or whatever Air they want to buy, and get them to buy one of the programs that's available to them at 18, and help them with that. We do that, we change the economic game for ourselves. We're not waiting for anybody to come save us. Mel Robbins. No one's coming to save you. Save
That's
yourself.
right. Yeah.
Okay? Whole life, universal life term insurance, depending on what the situation is with your cash flow. In trust for account rather than a child savings account. Our ESPs, max it out and don't put it in something that's yielding nothing. The child's not going to school for 17 years. If you're not in the stock market, you're costing them money. And disability, registered disability savings plan. Okay. If your child qualifies for one, I would suggest you get one. As of September of this year, I'll be able to offer those as well. Today we can't, and you need another license to do it. I'm not going to get that license, but my license will qualify for that as of September 22nd, 2025. So this is how I would govern myself if I had children. I do have children. This is what I'm doing for my kids. I'm not telling you anything I'm not doing for my kids. Okay? Back to you, doctor.
No problem. Fitness IQ Cam says if you went when it was Ryerson, you can say Ryerson. It's like Sky Dome.
Facts. And Molson Amphitheater. Theater.
Yeah.
And the O'Keefe Center.
Yes, exactly. All right. So a few last things. I'm gonna take down this. If producer can take down this subject, Wayne, I know I can count on you on this. We won't. In a week from this Sunday is Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
What messages do you have for fathers, if anything, from your heart?
Yeah, thanks for that. Having lost my father 2 years and a bit ago, Father's Day it hits differently. But seeing my kids come and have brunch, lunch, dinner with me lets me know that a legacy of leadership for the family and the household is being maintained and augmented. My daughter is seeing what a man does. My son is seeing what a man does. My son is seeing what a woman does, what a wife does, seeing what a husband does. They're watching, and they are watching. I want the fathers for Father's Day to ask themselves a question. If they consider themselves head of household, meaning that they're ultimately responsible for everybody at their address, and they're taking that accountability serious, do they have their financial house in order? Because they are single point of failure. And if something happens to them, are the things in place, the will, the living will, the power of attorney, the insurance, so they can leave a legacy of wealth, not a legacy of debt and scarcity should something happen to them. This first Father's Day will be the first Father's Day that my brethren, Alan Cox, will not be here for his family. 56 years old. He was gone December 13th, 2024. They went through their first Christmas. They went through their first New Year's. Now they have to go through their first Father's Day. Okay? And his birthday would be August of this year, 1 week after mine. I sympathize, I empathize, I feel for anybody who has lost a father. For those of you who don't have a positive relationship with your father, I hope you found a surrogate, because I was at a event last night at CAMH, and it was men talking about, the podcast is called He's a Guy. Shout out to Sean Carter and all the guys who were there. Julie Black was there. There are a bunch of therapists there. And we have a lot of trauma as it relates to our parents, our mother, our father. And one of the things they didn't discuss was trauma around money. A lot of us have a lot of stories and a lot of baggage about money and our relationship to it. As a father, every year you get older, that's automatic, but not every year you grow your mindset. I'm asking all the fathers to take active control of their mindset, maybe for the first time. Find a therapist. There's no shame in that game anymore. Find a therapist who understands your cultural background. And there are a lot more of those today than there were back in the day when I was coming through with new kids. There's a lot more people who understand the West Indian mentality and the West Indian trauma and devastation that can be caused by the West Indian mentality. And get with these people. It's not an expense, right? Most of you have benefits that will cover it. It's an investment in the next generation. Whatever cycle that needs to be broken, you as a father should take the lead in breaking that cycle. So I invite all fathers. Hey, I've been a father now 26 and a half years. If you want to talk to me about that, I'm happy to do it. If you have sons, I'm happy to talk about it. If you have daughters, I'm happy to talk about it. I have one of each. I have a body of work for 26 and 24 years. But fathers need to be coached up.
Yep.
Fathers need to be coached up. Men need to be coached up.
Yep.
And most of us who played sports like coaching. But for some reason, the trepidation to get coaching on your life coaching, people don't want to do. Again, out of shame, out of ignorance, out of guilt, out of not wanting anybody to know their business. And they suffer continuously. Fathers, stop suffering, get a therapist, get a coach, get better.
Yeah.
Back to you, Doctor.
Well said, Wayne. The only thing I'll add on to that is my dad celebrated his birthday a few weeks ago, and we're hanging out for a bit at the house. And then he went downstairs, sat in his favorite chair, and he began to reflect on his life. And people know I love to document things, and I just happened to have my iPad Pro there, and I recorded him just reflecting on his life for about 50 minutes. And that will never go away. I was able to keep that. And after he finished, he said, you know what? We got to do some more of this. So we're going to do some more of it, because there were a lot of things I found out about that I never knew before. And I knew that he was just telling me. I could tell he was just telling me. He wasn't going to think about telling anybody else. And I said, and I asked him, do you have any questions or any thoughts? He goes, I always wonder if I've done enough for my kids. And I think that's a beautiful statement. If you're a real father, have you done enough for your kids?
The other thing is, have you done enough for yourself? Because you can't give your kids what you don't have.
100%. 100%. Okay. All right. So if you want to get a hold of Mr. Harris, it's in the comments section on all the platforms that I'm running during this conversation. But there's a website, email address, Instagram. Wayne, as always, much thanks. How was that event last night, by the way?
It was solid. It was solid. It was usually do the podcast, and they don't have any audience. They had almost 300 people at CAMH to run it. So they're on to big things, and I believe the platform will only grow because of what happened last night.
Well, they should maybe reach out to someone like Dr. Vibe that has the partnership with Dove Men Plus Care, but that's a whole other conversation.
I will broker the conversation with one of the guys that I knew. Basically, one of the guys who was on stage, his father and I were roommates in Montreal back in the day.
There you go. Yeah, and actually,
I'll connect.
Yeah, and tell people. And on Monday's show, I'll be officially announcing the campaign that Dove Men Plus Care and the organization I'm a part of, Dad Central, is going to be doing for Father's Day, and it's all based on the LinkedIn platform. That's where they want to get basically that. So as always, Wayne, thank you so much. Best to you, Angie, and the kids, and we will chat. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace.
Take care.
Peace. All right. I want to run a quick poll before we leave today. Just want to get people's feedback on the show. So I'm going to go real quick. And I'm glad Wayne was able to share about the fatherhood piece because it is rather important. If you are watching this on the YouTube channel, would love to get your feedback on what you thought about today's conversation. 1, you thought it was terrible, up to 5 where you thought it was out of bounds. So if you have a moment and if you can do that, that would be great. So as we are closing out, let me just get some stuff here. People are beginning to vote. Love that. All right, so let's do the usual closeout. As always, so let me just get here because there's a lot on my screen right now. All right, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Want to get to 1,830 by Monday. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, join the Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com or share the link is there to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm on. Email me dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. If you want to get a hold of Ryan Knight, website ryan.oneilknight.com. Always have to say it's Knight with a KN. Instagram at ryan.knight99. Email workwithme@ryan.oneilknight.com. If you want to get in touch with me, website thedrvibeshow.com. YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram at The Dr. Vibe Show. X at drvibeshow. And then email at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. I'm also on Substack. I actually did some work last night to get my first replay show on Substack. So we're working on that. So it's drvibe.substack.com/subscribe and also on Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, Afro Caribbean Business Network on Facebook, and then Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube. So coming up, okay, you know what? Let me just do some stuff here. I want to show the Wallamala. Good to see you in C Nurse K. Good to see you. I just wanted to show the results of our poll and appreciate you all. 5 out of 5. Yes. Really good. Thank you so much. Appreciate you supporting and participating. All right. Coming up on Monday's show, Kellen Nicole, certified holistic nutritionist from the Energy Shack Juice Bar and Gluten-Free Bakery, both those under her hat. Going to be talking, we're going to do part 2 of celiac disease and the gluten-free rave. And I would say we got a special co-host coming up on Monday. Not going to tell you who it is. Only myself and that person know who it is. I'm not telling nobody. Also, we're going to have a different look on Monday. I'm not going to say anything else. Going to be a little different on Monday. So I would suggest you check it out. We're going to have a little bit different look on Monday. Then next Friday, we have Perry Douglas, who's on periodically. He's going to be with a gentleman who's the head of the Caribbean Coding Academy. Going to be talking about the importance of coding, computer, IT, especially aimed at the Caribbean community. We're going to have that person on. Oh, thank you. Wallamala says, anytime. Thank you so much. So as always, we close it out. Live your life as a dream. If you can, tomorrow, primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. And I think they're just going to spend an hour talking about 47 and Elon Musk. That's it. And then Sunday, we have Cesar Nadima Musa going to be chatting, as always, on Black Canada Talking. And then Sunday night, we have Black Men Can Talk. So it's another positive, productive weekend. I've got to go to an event tomorrow celebrating someone's birthday. So it's going to be a jam-packed event. So later on this afternoon and tonight, I'm just relaxing. Plus, I've got to do a session tomorrow morning with a group of men I have to facilitate. So, yeah, I'm going to make sure I get to bed at a good time tonight. So as always, Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And also make it better. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith while good. We'll catch you soon.
This whole thing of using your business with plant-based products, don't you think your life should reflect that too?
Juke him, Carolyn. Juke him. The family loves us here because they're saying Fitness IQ Can says put a wig on to get in.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Like the ideas are just coming fast and furious here this morning. What? Okay, look at this. Global Women Ambassador. Good morning. Look forward. Okay.